Hello, Connective. Today we're doing something new with the general read. We're using the High Vibe card deck, the High Vibe card deck by Becky Moore. And we're also going to pull it with the Getting into the Vortex with Esther, made by Esther and Jerry Hicks. So we're just looking for one card from each deck for this energy read. So we can talk a little bit today about something, specific to the two cards that come out. So grab the High Vibe deck first, because the way you use the High Vibe deck is you rate your vibration before you use the deck. Somewhere between 1 low vibration and high, 10 is a high vibration. And, low vibration is feelings that feel bad, and high vibration are, feeling good. So, we will talk specifically more about vibration on this channel, but for the purposes of this energy read, let's just keep it simple. One card per deck, and, feeling good, feeling bad. Go ahead and rate yourself, because these cards are sort of, they're not coming out. Just need one card from the High Vibe deck. Let's see if we can get one card. One card. A lot of cards want to come out, but we really just want one. I want to focus on one, mostly because we're going to combine it with another card, and we don't want to have too much that we need to talk about here. Oof, jeez. I don't know. Been doing this for a little bit. Okay. This one actually came out first, so we're going to use one. And letters. So it's going to be, the description is: write a letter to your future self. What advice would you give? What questions would you ask? All right. So now, before you fully answer that question, let's ask Getting into the Vortex. Just one card. Okay. What have we got? I came as an extension of source energy. Let's read that. You came as physical extensions of source energy, understanding that you would explore contrast, causing expansion not only for you, but for all that is. You knew that you could find your way back to the resources of your source by feeling your way, and by understanding that the relationship between you and you is not one of separateness, but of alignment and resonance. When you master the art of allowing your consistent alignment with the source within you, every other relationship will be beneficial and pleasurable. So, let me read it one more time. I came as an extension of source energy. So, a lot of what I see about this card is kind of like saying basically that you are a part of God, that when you decide that you want to learn something, when you learn it, you kind of, it's almost like everybody learns it, you know what I mean? Feeling your way, a lot of times, we're going to say if something doesn't feel good, that's the first indication that that's not the way to go, and a lot of times, you can tell if something's right or wrong, like especially, particularly for you, just by feeling your way. But, also the relationship between you and you, a separateness, even separateness from other people, it kind of messes with your alignment. But separateness from yourself is even worse, because then you can't even kind of be alone. You know what I mean? Like you can't even sit alone, because you can't be by yourself, and, mastering the art of allowing your consistent alignment with the source within you, understanding where you come from and who you are. Every other relationship will be beneficial and pleasurable. It's also kind of telling me to be the best person that you can be, to be the best that you can be, letters, writing a letter to your future self, even writing a letter to your past self, writing just to your now self to say, hey, I'm going to write a bunch of stuff down. Like, I'm just going to brainstorm some ideas and I'm going to read it later and see what's really going on, inside of me. Advice that you'd give and questions that you'd ask. You really, anything that you would write is beneficial to your, to your vibration, to your spiritual awakening. You can combine this card with a lot of things. You can combine letters with meditation. You can meditate and then you can write, a bunch of things on a piece of paper, or, they always tell you in spiritual circles to keep a journal. And, all of this really is helpful, especially if you're writing down good things, you're writing things you're appreciative of, you're writing down, how much that source has your back, that you just, everything you believe in and everything that's positive, and then you even go back and you read it again and, you just write down more gratitude and more things happen for you, It really does reinforce your connection with source. It really does make it much easier for you to go through things, especially even just go through life, especially if you do it a lot, because then you're just building that momentum. We always talk about building momentum, and that's what we're talking about, And so really, think about maybe, I see, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge writer, back in the day, decades ago, I did what they told me. I wrote stuff, and I like, deep, painful things, and then I would go back and read them, or I found a journal or something. It would have been, a long time later, and read it. And one of the things that that got to me was that, I still felt the same way I did when I wrote that stuff. I had written it so long ago, but I still resonated with what I was reading on the paper. It was like I hadn't changed, I hadn't changed in my beliefs and the way I thought, the things that upset me would still upset me, kind of thing. And the other thing that kind of came to my attention was that those things still bothered me. And at the time, I didn't realize what that meant. It was an opportunity for me to get over those things that I had written down about, and get rid of them, or forgive myself or someone else. Whatever needed to happen there, I could have just held myself accountable by putting it on a piece of paper, But also, I really didn't like feeling it again. It wasn't even so much about being triggered, you know what I mean? I don't think I was so much triggered when I read the stuff. It was just more of a painful memory, kind of like a opening a wound, which is sort of a trigger. If you're hurt, that's a trigger, but I do kind of feel like, in a way, sometimes there is not an explanation for why someone did something. Sure, you can reconcile and say, I can, respond the way I want to. I can't control them, but I can control the way I respond, things like that, and get through something like that and heal that kind of stuff. But, honestly, if there's really no reason, if somebody didn't even really have a reason to hurt you, they just did, there's no reason to kind of feel that again, later, when they've already moved on and forgotten all about it. Technically, I don't think they really forget about it, but that's a whole different video, Bottom line is, by that time, you should have forgotten about it. And my thing is, if I'm writing it down on a piece of paper, I'm not really forgetting about it. I'm not really letting myself forget about it, because no matter what happens when I go find it later, I'm reminded. So my thing is to not necessarily write things down. Now, having said that, I used to not be a note taker either. And as far as like my business and stuff goes now, you know, if I get an idea, I write it down. I get my notes together. I'm not playing with that. So in that sense, I have gotten to the point where I do make myself notes, even if they're notes of things that I have to do, and there's a lot of them, which is definitely something I used to not do. Oh my God, I have all these notes hanging over my head. You know, now I just do it. So I will write. And honestly, I know I need to journal. Even if I just shredded it afterwards, just wrote the stuff down and shredded it afterwards or burned it. A lot of people like doing that. They'll, you know, put it in the fireplace or they'll burn it over the sink. They just have to have water ready. Sorry, the sage. Listen, I'm not suggesting that anybody burn anything in your house. Okay. To be honest, I like the paper shredder. Then I don't even have to see it. I don't have to worry about any tongs or any whatever. So honestly, you know, if I was going to do something like that where I was writing down, let's say my hurts, you know, I would definitely either set a time where I revisit it, where it's not too long after. My whole thing is when I go back to it, a lot of times I'll go back to it in a different mood. And a lot of times, you know, a different mood means, I mean, even when I was in school and I used to write papers and, you know, I would be like, oh, let me look at this in a different mood and make sure I'm on the right track. So to me, a different mood a lot of times is tomorrow. And if I look at it tomorrow and and it makes me feel a certain way as it did yesterday, and maybe I can kind of work through that. I'm not against doing anything like that, definitely. But then once I feel that it's worked through, you know, I would definitely shred that piece of paper unless I wanted to, like I said, pull it out one more time and make sure that that emotion really is gone. But, you know, I mean, I'm not big on that either. I feel like if it does manifest, that type of emotion, whatever it is that I'm dealing with, it's probably going to manifest in some different situation anyway. It'll be the same emotion, but different situation. And there's no real way to go back on my notes and figure out, you know, I mean, you know, you just kind of take it as it comes. A lot of times you don't really realize how many aspects you might feel about something. You know, we try really hard to not separate ourselves from ourselves and to not separate ourselves from others, and, you know, to really acknowledge our relationship with Source and what our connection really is to Source, you know, as people who are actively trying to work in their spiritual awakening. And what these cards are telling me, you know, because these readings were coming out on the same day for a while, the high vibes readings and then getting in the vortex readings. So I decided to combine them just as a little experiment to see what's going on. I think that, you know, what these two cards are telling me right now is, you know, working on this, if you want to work on this, you know, just feeling better about your spiritual awakening in general, but definitely connecting with yourself, absolutely, even connecting with others. You know, something happened today, this made me feel this way, it involved this person. I really do want to love this person. I think I'm just going to forgive them for this, even though I know they do it all the time. Whatever it is you want to write down. You know, but I'm definitely suggesting that you get some sort of, you know, pad of paper, you know, journal type situation, you know, and if you are really concerned about somebody else looking at it, that used to be my thing when I lived with somebody. You know, they have some that lock and stuff, or you can even, you know, secure it in other ways if you have it like on your computer or something. Although I will tell you that if you want to write a letter and you want to like search yourself and all that stuff, that physically getting a pen and writing that letter is a little bit more connecting than typing something out on your computer or your phone. So if you're stuck right now and this video isn't being released today and it's like popping up for you, consider writing your feelings, your emotions, what's triggering you, what you want out of your spiritual awakening, what you've been observing, what you notice. You know, whole separate section of your journal should be about gratitude. Sorry. Again, the sage. There's a thought too. Oprah Winfrey has been writing in a journal for decades, and she still has her journal from decades. Her journal's from decades ago. She can pull out a journal from 1985 and read to you what she wrote during that time. And if you decide that you want to be really good at manifesting, you want to be a master manifester, I would say right now, one of the ways that you could really help yourself out is by journaling every day 5 things that you're grateful for. 5 things that you're grateful for. Every day. Pick 5 different things every single day. If you really want to get crazy, you can do it twice a day, once in the morning, once at night. You can meditate. You can write down 5 things that you're grateful for. Write down some other things if you'd like to really, connect with yourself in a way, more personal things, or maybe even why you're grateful for those things, to get yourself to the point where you can really truly appreciate and acknowledge those things, where you can say, I love this for this, and I love this for you, literally write a page about this one thing that you love. You could really become really good at bringing forth things that you want, in this life, I was going to say. But, especially during your spiritual awakening, you can really help yourself purposefully create. A lot of times when people have a hard time with the law of attraction, it's because they conduct their energy in a way that doesn't really suit what's coming, it doesn't suit them. But the way they're exhibiting their energy kind of suits what's coming to them. And even if you're one of those people that is putting out stuff, that it's causing you to get stuff back that you don't really like, if you, as a totally separate thing, just kept a journal of the things that you were grateful for, or kept a journal of the way you felt about certain things, especially, as a totally side note that just came to me right now, 2 things actually. One of them is sort of not spiritually related, but it sort of is. But keeping journals, can really be helpful too. If you think that, let's say you start catching a pattern of your behavior, you notice certain parts of the month you get into fights with people, or people that are close to you, or certain parts of the month you feel tired or this and that, and then you kind of realize hey, I feel like the moon is messing with I feel like every time the moon is full, I feel this way. When the moon is new, I feel this way. And, if you have a journal, if you have something that you can actually go back and see what you were writing during those phases of those moons, and you can actually compare something and you can do something. Actually, the second thing, though, I thought of was when people have allergies and they start keeping a food journal, and then they go back, I ate this, I ate this, I ate this. Okay, didn't feel so good on these days. Oh, I ate the same thing on these days, same thing, but either way, it really doesn't matter what you write, to be honest with you. Just as another side note, I don't really identify with it, but, some people do identify with automatic writing. And sometimes automatic writing is you just start writing, you just start writing whatever, or you just start scribbling and then the writing comes out. And a lot of times it divulges information and it gives you something to work with, depending on what it is that you're trying to do, in this world. So keep this in mind, even if you're not 100% comfortable, with the whole journaling idea, keep your mind open on this. Because later on, you may either want to, need to, or you may be open to, and then you can kind of work, go further and work towards that connection with you and your connection with Source, especially if you ever have a question, you can just ask it. You can ask it in the journal, meditate, write the answer. Go back, look at it a week later. Even if you keep asking the same questions, just go back and look, see what it says. And shred it when you want to. if you want to. Or, you know, you keep it for decades. Go look at it. Look at what you wrote in 1985 if you want to. You know, it's up to you. Whatever brings you, helps you with that connection. So consider that. These two cards together until we meet again.